thank you all very, very much for being here. It means a lot, as you know, and it's a great time for me because cette installation, c'est vraiment le début de toute une nouvelle démarche. C'est seulement la troisième fois que j'ai fait une installation. Et c'est aussi le début d'une démarche qui est liée à ma réflexion sur la migration. Alors, je suis très heureuse d'être Montréal. So today is a party. It's an anniversary. It's the 30th anniversary in 1998 of my immigration to Canada. It's the 10th anniversary of my move to Santa Fe, which allowed me to integrate my adult life with my love of my childhood love of my homeland. And tomorrow is the 60th wedding anniversary of my parents. So I would like to dedicate, do a double dedication. The first to my parents for their love of mountain and sky and family that they nurture. And also to you all here and all the other people in Quebec City and in Montreal who throughout my migrations have welcomed me again and again and again in my northern life. So, migration in a small world. One day, years ago, in my Santa Fe studio, quietly reading Barry Lopez's accounts of caribou migration in the Arctic, I heard the news that the Berlin Wall had fallen. I was seized by the jubilance of the collapse of that oppressive boundary, but suddenly seized as well by images of other peoples, boat peoples, desert peoples around the world, disrupted, liberated, or uprooted, but all moving. And of course, I wondered too about my own rapport with them, mon propre sort dans ma vie à ce moment-là, qui était très fragile, in my fragile life with its repeated movements across the North American continent. Driven by the natural forces of hunger and climate and season, of love and identity, of battle and boundary, the Earth species have always migrated, moving over sea and land. But there is something not so natural going on now. At this end of century, we know too well the collapse of social and natural boundaries on a global scale through the accelerated powers of technology and war. Not only the survival habits and habitats of wildlife have been affected, but those we know now of our own species as well. But then again, remember the bumper stickers, Sing Back the Buffalo, inspired by the Sioux tradition of the ghost dance? We had a lot of those in the West. I don't know about Montreal. Many people sang, Native people sang and are singing, mainstream environmentalists, wildlife rehabilitation people. They all sang with knowledge and imagination and care. The buffalo are back in the West in small herds, some of them wild, some used for commercial foods. And so are the bald eagles, lots of them in Alaska and the Northwest Coast. So all may not be lost. But still, in our recent history, too many of our own threatened species know both the distress of exile and, if we are lucky, the relief of refuge in the same place, our bones. Migratory beings not necessarily moving in directions we have intended. The question that occurred in my studio has stuck with me. I believe the truly natural is necessary, but how natural are our accelerated dislocations and our terrible and refined genocides today? How do they fit, or do they at all, with the natural migrations of the seasons and ages of the earth that ours and other species have known for so many thousands of years? I signed the drawing in the studio with Millennium Adaptation for the species. But is it? Is it adaptation, or is it self-destruction? At this point, I do not know. It is hard to have that wide perspective. But on a smaller scale, I do know now the risks and the joys and the adaptations migration demands for an individual. And being among the lucky ones, I know well the kindness of those who welcome the nomad. Mes amis de Québec, ma famille québécoise, qui sont descendus pour le vernissage aujourd'hui, je vous remercie de tout cœur, parce que vous approchez pas seulement la douceur, la complicité de nos grandes amitiés, mais vous approchez aussi le beau fleuve Saint-Laurent que je connais de Québec, avec son cap diamant, ses falaises boisées, les marais du Cap Tourmente et le grand large avec toute sa beauté sauvage de l'île d'Orléans. Je vous en suis très reconnaissante. If I have entitled the show Rives et berges, lieux de tendresse, if I speak of shores of tenderness, it is to first sing that tenderness of being alive on this continent, because that's how I'm made. I can't do anything else. But it is also to meet with Frédéric Bach and others here and elsewhere, to, as Frédéric Bach says, faire contrepoids à la violence, to bring my weight to bear, to bring my voice to nurture against the odds of violence. And this is shale from the Canadian Shield. C'est l'argilite du bouclier laurentien. Et nous sommes au bord du Saint-Laurent, sur une grande pierre qui s'appelle Montreal. So it is on this rock and on the shore of the St. Lawrence that I invite you to take up your little walking staff here, metaphorically, or the little bark that I made for you there, and to wander and wonder perhaps with me the time of this reading. C'est par la jouissance de la communion avec ces terres matières qui sont l'argile et la pierre, et de la beauté des eaux du Saint-Laurent, que je vous invite de prendre votre bâton de marche ou votre petit barque que je vous ai fait, et de vous promener sur ces rives et berges métaphoriques le temps du vernissage et de l'exposition. Excusez-moi une minute. Migration 1. Voice 1. There are the mountain streams, San Francisco Bay, the St. Lawrence River, and the sea. How shall I navigate these waters of this earth, among the fear, the distress of the young, the sheer peace of the deer, the loss of country and friend, the core joy of the body, the exuberant flesh of the child, roadkills, and the keen beauty of aliveness. Voice 2, carefully and with song, for these are the shores of tenderness. In the first home, the first shore, till the mountains turn to dust, this poem is called Quickened. Longing for the place of my first identity with the deer, aiming for the high rise in altitude, I crossed timberline and wept for the beauty of the tundra forever. I have limbs and touch again among the elk and the aspen, the osprey, hushed as the willow, still on green forested rock, with limbs and touch again, and the silence. Touch, the tender touch, limpid and troubled waters, tender touch. Loving is a place where we touch the intricate cellular, cultural, and personal structures that weave our beings. We hope for comfort and refuge, We carry as a species the knowledge of the beauty of abiding together. But loving is often a troubled shore, revealing what Adrian Rich calls the failures of the race, where women and men, women and women, men and men, sometimes encounter in ourselves the impossibilities of the deep tissue of cultural fears that influence our personal lives. Sometimes we swim against the ancient tides. We continue loving in this world against great odds. Ce poème s'appelle Une rive. Toi, tu parles du courant. Tu dis que toi, tu es le courant qui contourne la pierre au milieu du fleuve. Tu contournes pour ne pas te buter. Tu cours avec le courant. Et tu te répètes. Moi, je t'écoute. Je reconnais ce courant, ces azurs et ces eaux limpides, où je m'étais glissée, alliée naturelle avec toi. Réfugiés de l'amour, nous nous rejoignons à l'ouverture évasée de ton estuaire. Nous côtoyons la rive de roches irisées qui se dresse longue et plonge profonde. Tissage de douceur nacrée, luisante au toucher filant de soie, résistant au flot de tendresse montante. Oui, c'est là que l'écueil se révèle, à fleur d'eau, à fleur de peau. Ici, les craintes se hérissent. Oh, je l'ai vu, je vois, je l'ai vu. Car, plus qu'une balise, la rive, l'âpre muraille, se refuse au partage. Dérouté, je navigue vers le large, mais parfois, par ses éclats lumineux, l'azur, et par la riche nourriture de ses airs intimes, ton courant me ramène vers un mouillage désirable, où nos corps, tels les bouées joyeuses, flottent, se lient et se délient, côtoyant cette rive où, oui, je l'avoue, je suis tentée de sonder, de tâter, d'explorer de mes mains, chercher ses contours et ses vides, voir de quoi la substance si dure de la rive, permettant aucune dérive, elle est faite. De coraux, au fond, je le savais, j'ai vu, je le sais, qu'elle est faite, qu'elle t'a faite de coraux, de ces multiples joyaux, de peur, ta mère. Complice avec toi, ta mère a placé de coraux précieux à ce récif barrière, mi-pierre, mi-chair, où restent posés tes deuils, l'échec de ton amour éternel, ta foi, enfouie longtemps dans la rive de coraux, de joyaux, de peur, se pose implacablement dans le gouffre sans bonheur creusé par la guerre. Là, tes murmures sondent mes os, susurrant, je ne crois pas au bonheur, je ne crois pas au bonheur. Je m'y trouve seule au creux de tes joies, auprès de cette rive infranchissable qui dirige ton courant, protège tes eaux, assemble les rochers refoulés, les perles refusées. Tu suis ton courant, tu tournes autour de tes rochers, à l'ouverture évasée de ton estuaire. Tu relonges ta rive profonde sans foi, gardien farouche de l'oubli choisi, préféré, une fierté aux aguets. Aux aguets, je tourne et je tourne, je nage dans l'équivoque avec toi, voulant clarifier les eaux fraîchement embrouillées de mensonges, du non-dit, du non-moi qui coule là. Cherchant à délier les peurs qui t'émaillent, je me trouve, je l'avoue, sans fil. Le labyrinthe t'appartient. Je ne suis point Ariane, mon ami. Je ne suis point courailleuse, ni mère. Je suis femme. J'aime. Je tourne. Je contourne. Je me bute à tes malaises. Je me bute à ton mépris. Désinvolte, tu tournes, ahuri, incrédule. Je me tourne vers toi. Naviguons, je dis, ça prend un navire, un bateau, une barque peut-être, mon ami, ou la nage. Nous sommes des humains et tu te veux capitaine. Tu tournes, Tu coules avec ton courant, ses azurs et ses beautés lumineuses. Moi, je coule sans allié, sans naturel. Je ne suis point courailleuse, mon ami. Refusié du large, nous nous rejoignons à l'ouverture évasée de ton estuaire, où au fond tu m'as dit, hommes et femmes ne sont pas faits pour s'entendre. Je t'entends, mon ami, tourne, mon ami, contourne. Auprès de cette rive, je ne trouve pas d'accueil. Je ne suis point courailleuse. Je reprends le large. Contre vents et marées, nous aimons. And sometimes it's our society's social ills that cause our impediments. Drugs, October. The satisfaction of hunger is one thing, but the ferocity of the starved is another. It cannot be his mythical, eternal source. He must find that source in himself, la source, where the spring links up with the earth, way in. Could we meet each other there, following our springs to it, that shore, and relax on the moss, knowing the deep comfort of it? Just to suggest going that far in strains me. I don't need to aggress the source by going to its mouth. My celebration of it is my going along happily with my life, knowing I am connected to it. My repose is the knowledge and peace of that reality. With him, I cannot penetrate that deeply. It is not safe. He knows not the way. He seems not to know his own spring, especially not to love his spring. He would have to love himself more if he were to be with me. All I desire now is protection from him. Protection, necessary protection, because sometimes tenderness is sorely tested. But what do we do when it is tested? Do we take up our weapons again? Do we row away? And if so, where do we row? Where do we travel to? What shore in our society shall restore our species? D.H. Lawrence, musing on the American Revolutionary War, said, "The savage America was conquered and subdued at the expense of instinctive and intuitive sympathy of the human soul. The fight was too brutal. The spirit and will survived, but something in the soul perished, the softness, the floweriness, the natural tenderness. And today our wars, even more, tear at our being and our social fabric. War, survivor, post-traumatic syndrome. Yeah. Can you see how to turn the air conditioning on? Oh yeah, let's turn the lights down. Yeah, but I have a microphone. It might be all right. I don't know. Could you turn, Bernie, right behind you, there's a light switch, I think. I'll turn it for radio. We're all awake in the darkness over there. You just we need these on, please, because of the video.
Nope.
No, okay.
Oh.
Are you guys all right, or you want your lights on?
Yeah, they can turn these ones off.
Okay. And can we turn those lights off for us?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Probably you tell me if it gives in interference, you tell me, okay?
I turned it on here.
Okay, that should help. I'm long-winded today. shattered angel. Sleep. I slept with you, a sleep of blue fabric, patterning my dream with repose. And then, all my cells awake, a long time, half awake, I lay quiet, breathing you, fine, refined, voluptuous. I lay quiet, your gun a ringing presence across the room, patterning my repose with question. Shattered angel. I started this sculpture. I didn't mean to. You know how these things come. I did this sculpture and saw it was you, your head blown away, as you had told me you'd do in the mountains with your gun when the time came. Disturbed, I was doing this sculpture of you in clay, blown away, wondering why and should I dare, until you told me of the snipers and the hook of your friend collapsing beside you. And you told me of the long, extravagant pleasure of throats split, ear to ear, the long, extravagant dying, refined by screams, haunting you still. Then I knew your necessity for the gun and the mountain, desperado. Then the stealth of your death quieted me. My hands shaped this sculpture, fondled it, smoothed it, scraped it, marked it, tore it, shattered angel, it's called. Blown away in the back, the lower back, the kidneys, cratered, the kidneys, les reins, we say in French. Il a les reins solides, we say, solid. But no, this sculpture has no solid strength, no lower back, pas de rein, empty, exploded. Vide. Why? I didn't know. Rein, the dictionary says, les reins sont l'emblème de la puissante fécondité des célestes intelligences. Les reins, the emblem of the powerfully fecund intelligence of angels. That's why. Les reins, the seat of your celestial music, the power of the angel's intelligence. Don't blow it. Don't shatter the angel. You needn't. I've done it. I did this sculpture of you, blown away, pas de rein. I didn't mean to. Don't shatter the angel. Don't blow yourself out the other side, past the finesse of murders long dead. To say avec les reins, les anges sont les avertisseurs du sacré. They announce the sacred, they do. Angels, you know. Angels with uncratered backs and brains not blown away. Intact, they warn of the sacred they do. Angels, you know, shattered angel. You are the chords and reeds of music, the winds and breath of genius, delight and anoint through you. Tu chantes l'intelligence céleste, divine, divine. Je te veux les reins solides. I want you uncratered. I'm Scorpio, like your mother. I'm not your mother. Here in the hotel, you say all men are pimps, women whores. Speak for yourself. I won't be in your act. And you know I'm a woman, full-blooded, full-bodied, strong, kind, and desirous of you. And you want me, and you hate me, and you want me, and you love me, and you'd just as soon murder me. And you drive me away, and it doesn't matter. Just sing. Strike your chords and choruses of angels, 10,000 times 1,000. Be the seraphim with 6 wings, only 2, hiding his face from his fear of God. Be Michael the Conqueror, or Gabriel the Initiator, or Raphael the Traveler's Guide. It doesn't matter. Just sing. You do use murdered song to fecund the earth. You do enliven the stars. You do create 7th heaven. You are the demon possessed of sacred will, the poet, the song, the cry, the fodder for creation. Forget Lucifer, don't travesty your song. This is not burlesque, but jazz, ecstatic tonic for the soul, cascading through wounds that forget their pain, warmly pulsating minds into intent, your beat quickened cells, lifting breath, intimate rhythms caress faces into glowing, thrill skin with myriad quivering tones, and anoint hearts like sweet grass after the rain. Your genius is joy, the surprise of radiant green shadows in the shade of early summer leaves, ringing with rain, pure, je te veux les reins solides, shattered angel. Je te veux uncratered. Shoot, shattered angel, shoot from les reins. We love, we continue loving against great odds. Contre vents et marées, nous aimons. Vive la différence, vive la différence. These are critical times for the bond and difference between men and women. Critical times then for our children, for the elk and the animals, for the ties and craters of our scoured earth. These are critical times for the bond and difference between men and women. Critical times then for our species, its tenderness and health, its resilience and continuance. Critical times for our species, dearly beloved, in spite of the scorn our bodies endure, in spite of the isolation we impose. Critical times for our species, dearly beloved, in spite of the failures we demand of it. It is not just me. It is not just you. These are critical times for our species, dearly beloved. Avec les vents, avec les marées, nous nous aimons. With the tides, we love against the odds. Soleil, ciel bleu, noir du cinéma. One man worth his salt. Elle aimait, j'aimais. Un Argentin avec son soleil de bleu et son tango de tristesse, ses yeux de noir exil. Il aimait, honnête, une Américaine avec son soleil de bleu et son rire de tendresse, son indépendance. Ils s'aimaient, on s'aimait, protégés par les cieux bleus de nos pays, de nos enfances. On s'aimait sous nos soleils éclatants, joyeux, confiants de nos jours, bleus, doux, radieux, dans un pays de marché aux fleurs, où la lumière faisait des légumes, bijoux, où les fleurs se ramassaient fraîches en pavé, un pays de calcaire, un pays pour tous les deux, temporaire. Ils s'aimaient, on s'aimait, dans le refuge du cinéma, le beau noir profond qui le consolait, où nos rires, nos imaginaires, nos tendresses s'animaient avec The Marx Brothers. Où, un soir, il avait amené l'autre, sa petite et jeune amie devant moi. Je pleurais dans le noir, sans qu'il puisse voir, ni s'en douter. Patiente j'étais, avec sa lenteur de choisir. Ce qu'il a fait, on s'aimait, on s'aimait. La belle nuit de nos corps retrouvés, nous soulageait de la maturité de nos tendresses. On s'espéra, on respira de nos soleils, amis, amoureux. L'espérance a chanté avec les mamours d'Italie, Firenze et Cellini, des promesses de se donner, les promesses de se donner vie, de se donner l'Italie, un jour quand on sera riche. Il m'aimait comme un homme, les matins à table, par la chaleur de son latte argentin, par la fraîcheur des salades l'après-midi. Les jours, on aimait l'avenir, malgré nos géographies. On se rencontra, on s'aima, on se sépara par la maladie. Il souffrit de mon départ, Il pleura comme un homme. Un départ qui ne devait être qu'une attente peut-être, une attente de retour. Que l'espérance est virulente, que la maladie est prenante, que le cancer est menaçant. À 3000 lieues du marché, ses mains doux et radieux me saluaient. À l'hôpital, son toucher franc et tendre m'arrivait par les images de Dieu de la chapelle Sistine, affection divine, et par nos sauts dans le marais de Cortazar, par la complicité de nos soleils, son toucher franc et tendre m'apaisait. La maladie était grave, son issue incertaine. Je l'ai libéré, je l'aimais. Je lui dis de ne pas attendre mon retour. Il y eut, par contre, un an après, un retour. Mon cœur, frais et franc, s'émeut d'amour pour ce Messiton. Il aimait, honnête, une Portugaise, Margarita, et son fils André. Elle aimait, franche d'amour, l'Argentine. Ils partirent, une famille, vers son ciel bleu, sa terre de tambour. Ses yeux doux, radieux étaient noirs, sans exil. Avec les vents, avec les marées, nous nous aimons, nous nous aimerons. Ce poème s'appelle The Aging Lovers par Gian Ciardi, du livre qui s'appelle Poems of Love and Marriage. Why would they want one another? Those two old crocs of habit, up heavy from the stale bed. Because we are not visible where we dance, though a word none hears can call us to the persuasion of kindness, and there sing. De port en port, de terre en terre, de mère en fils, nous nous aimons. Generations, family, friendship, gatherings, rituals can restore the joy of our bonds with each other and the earth. The impoverishment of our media culture sends me rowing sometimes back to the desert for the Christmas buffalo dance at Jiménez Pueblo. This was written to a friend, an archaeologist friend who died. And it's about the Christmas buffalo dance where in the morning the deer dancers and the eagle dancers and two male buffalo dancers and one buffalo woman peek over the hill at the east of the Pueblo at the exact moment that the sun peeks over the hill. And the dancers walk down with the deer walking like the deer and the eagle dancers flapping like the eagles. And the elders of the Pueblo are in line, a long line, and the community is in a long line going into the plaza, the center of the village. Et avec cette défilé d'anciens qui reçoivent les danseurs, ils donnent des bénédictions aux danseurs qui arrivent au centre du plaza et qui réunit tous les animaux et le soleil et tous les gens de la terre dans une grande prière de danse. Et alors c'est ça le contexte de cette histoire-là, mais ça parle de génération, de mère et fils, etc. Dan, you were the only one I ever told, I think, of how I wept at Jiménez Pueblo, feeling my people are so lost, my people being the impoverished media society. I remember telling you, you and I, were at San Juan Pueblo, leaving a dance. A turtle dance? I don't know now. It was winter, during Christmas season, New Year's Day, or early January. The pueblo was so quiet, the peace of the silent dust spread wide, the town so flat on the rise under the sky, such earth, so alive. There, when I told you, you said, it's true. I had wept at the guest house at Jemez Pueblo. Barbara and I had feasted, been welcomed on the day of the Christmas buffalo dance into the busy home, warm with chili. This is the time of year of chili. It starts in October. Warm with chili and serene with the infant Christ child's room that enshrined joy, enlivening the air as the drummer and singers, all men, arrived as expected, looked forward to, greeted. They hooked arms with their mothers and grandmothers and danced. The drum regular and the blue of the first woman's dress rippling with the tinsel of the Christ child's crib as they entered his room, singing the joy, already so alive and more so now, in the tender snow, with offerings laid around the tiny child. They were light the gifts, the steps of the men and women, none really young. Light, too, the dancing standard, our hearts, and the cornmeal we had sprinkled on the child, truly blessed. These steps, this joy, this linking of arms fully belonged to the elders, men and women, keeping vigil, seated all around the room, related, all related. Well-fed friends, we were related to, related by heart and spirit, related in the silent breathing of the earth, her winter crust softened and ripened by the feet of the deer stalking in the dance, the scurrying of the young antelope, and the vigor of buffalo woman, the buffalo men, the run soar of the eagles. They danced in a line, lightly, past me, shy, blue, still, quiet in that joy, I knew and wept. My people are so lost, without this linking of arms, of grandmothers and sons, without the dance, a dance to turn to. My people, so unsung. Riding high, riding far, over land and sea and swells, we love the children. Inexplicable, imponderable, immeasurable. Leur souffrance nous accable, comme dans la sculpture, les berges pour les enfants à la mer. Their suffering disturbs us, like in the sculpture, shore for children at sea. But we have to the sheer force and delight of their presence. And this poem is dedicated particularly to Megan and Luke Hauer, who are 3 and 1.5 years old. What is it about the voices of those we love that makes them song? Is it ourselves that sound beyond the child's complaint, or with the lilt of the toy's story, that meld the grandmother's tone with the toast and jelly? Is it ourselves that float and unravel the caress that rings in the sound of voices of those we love? What is it about the sound of voices of those we love? How do they ring and carry song, thoughtful knowing and response? Children of the earth, we love against great odds. Illness, maladie. Avec vents et marées, avec les marées, avec corps et âme, nous nous aimons. Nous avons l'amour tant belle, non pas le temps à calcul, non pas le temps perdu à la ronde, le temps peine, le temps joie, tant de joie, tant d'amour. Je te l'écris maintenant dans le temps pour toi, mon ami, Nous avons l'amour, ma belle, ma sœur, Clarisse. Toute de la terre, toute de la chair, tous de la terre, tous de la chair, nous nous aimons. Et voilà.
One last one? Can't believe it.
Putting yourself through this. Okay. Actually, I had one and then I cut it because I thought it'd be too long, so I'll read what I cut. It's okay. So I started a little bit with Barry Lopez, so je vais finir avec quelques paroles de Barry Lopez et je présume lier un peu à un dernier poème à moi à ces paroles à lui. C'est lui qui parlait des migrations, là, des caribous. Et ici, il parle des migrations des oies canadiennes, hein, des oies blanches. Et bien sûr, c'est la saison, là. Les oies commencent à arriver. Et quand j'habitais au Nouveau-Mexique, les oies de l'Alaska prenaient leur refuge d'hiver au Nouveau-Mexique. Alors j'ai toujours eu dans mes migrations les oies blanches avec moi. Alors le poème s'appelle Bosque de l'Apache, mais je ne verrai pas le titre. Je vais suivre les paroles de Barry Lopez, un petit paragraphe et puis le poème. Et bien sûr, c'est pris de son livre qui s'appelle Arctic Dreams. I would watch the geese lift off the lake in the morning, spiral up white into the blue California sky, and head for fields of two-row barley to feed, able to wonder what this kind of nomadic life meant, how their lives fit in the flow of time, and made clearer the extent of space between ground and sky, between here and the far north. They flew beautifully each morning in the directions they intended, movements of desire, arabesques in the long sweep south from Tunde Bay Valley and Egg River. At that hour of the day, their lives seemed flushed with yearning. What is it about the sound of geese, the sound flickering with the light of dawn, the light stretched to all space by the marshes and distant hills, all space lit and the calls swelling? What is it about the sound of geese, the sound with the light of dawn that wakened us here, all breath, watchful? What is it about the roar of wings, the sound, and the sky rising? That's it. So please enjoy the show, and thank you mille fois, 1,000 times for coming and being with us. This is solid, this bouclier ancien.